Hello, everyone. This is Rick, and welcome to Astral Club. This is the grief stricken spirit. Before we get into it, just want to mention Patreon. If you'd like to support the channel on Patreon and the work that we do here, helping others learn how to astral project and spiritually progress, that'd be great. All you have to do is go down to the description section and you'll see a link there. And when you join, there's chat sections and there's also, of course, a direct mail place where you can send me your questions privately. Next up, lessons to astral project. If you'd like to learn to astral project or just improve your abilities, be glad to work with you. Work with folks now all over the world, from Sydney, Australia, all the way up to the UK and Europe. So all you have to do is go down to the description section. There's an email there. Just send me an email asking for more information. Okay, let's get into it. Now, this is a rescue episode, and I promise you, I'm going to do my absolute best to keep my emotional equilibrium on this one. I just want you to know, though, that why it's so difficult. First of all, I seem to save or work with a lot of young women. I think it's because I have a daughter who is my heart, really. And I see these women as people who my daughter might have been in another life, for instance, or maybe she would have made these bad decisions. And it's hard to separate my emotions in that kind of case. Uh, Most especially when you scan these people, I want to make sure I explain myself here. In order to get a really good scan of what's going on with them, you have to experience some of the things that they experienced, some of the traumas they experienced, as if you were the one who it was done to. So it's not just like watching a TV and you're watching a scary movie or you're watching a tragedy. You are the tragedy. You're in it. So just want to make sure everybody understands that it can be very challenging in cases like this. Well, what I did was I flew to Kensington, Philadelphia. This is an area that is infested with shattered souls, living and those who've passed on from drug overdoses and violence. Anyone driving in that area can feel the depression and the hopelessness that just saturates the buildings and the businesses and the streets. I walked among these tortured souls, and I wear my black robe uh, because it discourages violent entities from bothering me, because my time here is always limited and I don't want to get involved unnecessarily with some sort of a troubled spirit that isn't looking for my help and is just looking to cause trouble. Basically, if you've ever been to a wax museum, then you would have a good idea what this area of Kensington looks like. What you have here is many of these spirits, as well as those who are still in the physical, are frozen in awkward poses, still reliving whatever high had stopped their lungs from breathing and their hearts from pumping. So it's a very odd slice of hell. Now, I was walking along for several minutes, just kind of casting a little bit of a psychic net, trying to find someone who I can help. Believe me, it's harder than you would think. When I felt someone looking at me, I tried to narrow my scan for a second, and I was tempted, and I looked upwards, tilting my head upwards, and for an instant, I spotted a young lady who looked to be about in her 20s, hiding behind the curtains of a rundown old townhome that had a large condemned sign glued over the main entrance. She quickly disappeared from the window as I started to rise slowly up to her third story location. In the process, I exchanged my black robe for a white one. Uh, at this stage of the game, you don't want to scare people. Inside, I found a cheap room with a lumpy bed, dirty covers, and trash littering the floor. There were more than a few needles lying around as well. It was nice knowing I was in my astral body. The room's atmosphere was permeated by the deepest depression I've ever felt. It might have just as well had a sign over it that said, "Abandon hope, all you who enter." In the far corner, in a tight ball, was a rail-thin girl with unkempt brunette hair, dressed in a matching leatherette top and ultra-short skirt of a prostitute. She was weeping piteously, a soul bereft of all help. A surface scan told me even more than my astral eyes had already informed me of. Her name was Angela, and she had once been a vibrant soul, full of dreams and laughter. But she had been betrayed by her sister and her fiancé, and she'd fled to Kensington on the very night of her engagement, leaving behind shattered hopes and a restless spirit. She'd found this room and had worked the streets to buy what she needed to kill her pain. She'd lasted several months before the overdose shunted her to the lower astral that she currently occupied. For several years, she roamed this single room, watching the seasons change but never feeling their warmth. Her cries for freedom went unheard, absorbed by the paper-thin walls that had once sheltered her. Feeling her anguish and fear wash over me during the scan, I reached out telepathically. I said, "Angela, I want to help you leave this place, if you'll let me." She stopped crying for a minute, and she turned her eyes up at me, reflecting many months of longing and sadness. She asked, "Who are you?" And her voice echoed very softly, like a breeze through the trees. I said, "I am Rick." And I tried to project warmth and a soothing telepathic voice. And I said, "I have come here to help you find peace." I could feel her heart flicker with hope. She asked, "Can you free me from this place?" I stepped closer, emitting a warm, soothing glow. And I said, "Tell me your story." On the night of her engagement, she and her new fiancé had celebrated at her parents' house. She showed me how she'd awakened in the middle of the night to hear muffled moans through the walls that led to her younger sister's bedroom. She tiptoed to the next bedroom only to hear unmistakable sounds of her sister and her fiancé making love. As she recounted this crushing betrayal and her tragic fate, her sorrow just poured forth like a river, revealing the love she had lost and the dreams that had withered away. I listened intently with a heavy heart. I said, "You are not bound by these chains, Angela." I said, "Your spirit is tethered by the pain you carry. Let go of your grief, and you will be free." She hesitated. "How can I forget what was taken from me?" "By embracing the love you once knew," I replied. "Honor it, but do not let it define you. You have the power to choose your path." She thought about that for a minute. With this guidance, Angela began to remember the joy that love had brought her. As she thought of her fiancé's laughter and the dreams they had shared, the darkness within her began to lift. I wrapped her then in a warm presence, like an energy blanket, reassuring and radiant. Angela now stood before me, a glow of hope illuminating her once dimmed spirit. "I am ready," she said, her voice now clear and strong. With a gentle nod, I extended my hand and I walked her to a bright light, like a portal that had opened up in the middle of the room. She smiled and stepped into the portal and then vanished. If you found that experience moving or interesting in any way, please hit the like button. Share it with those of like minds. Subscribe if you haven't already, and most of you have. The vast majority have. Any comments or questions? What do you think? Would you have done anything differently? Have you ever been involved in a rescue situation that you'd like to share? Do you have any questions about this? Be glad to answer them. At any rate, this is Rick, and I will see you on the astral plane.